Well, I'm joined now from Tel Aviv by Mark Regev, who is a senior advisor to Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. Good evening, Mark. Thank you very much for being with us. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond to what we've just heard in just a moment. First of all, the release of the 2 Israeli hostages. What is your reaction? How are they? Where are they tonight?
So there won't be any reaction, Mark, until they're safely back in Israeli territory, and I have not heard that they are yet. So until that happens, and it could happen during this interview, but at the moment I'm not at liberty to speak about that. Once again, only when they're back in Israeli territory will I be able to confirm that this has been done.
Okay. Is it your understanding they're going into Egypt and then will come to Israel? What is your understanding?
I'm not going to go to any of the details until it's over. I apologize.
Okay. Now, Hamas was saying in one of their statements that Israel had refused since last Friday to accept and receive these hostages. Has Israel refused to accept or receive hostages?
Look, Mark, frankly, we saw that Hamas has no qualms whatsoever about killing innocent people. And in their statements, they're showing us they have no qualms about killing the truth. And the whole idea that Israel would refuse to accept hostages back, I mean, it's obviously ridiculous, ludicrous. I don't know what other word to say. How could anyone even think such a thing?
Is it the case now, Mark, that it's very difficult to launch a ground invasion while hostages are being released like this and so many hostages still remain?
On the contrary, we believe that hostages are being released, unfortunately very few and in small number. I mean, they've got more than 200 hostages, and if these 2 people are released, they'll still have more than 200. It's only because Hamas is under massive pressure. There is the military pressure that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, are inflicting upon Hamas, and we will continue to do so, and that pressure will be increased. And there's the international pressure, specifically the pressure that's being delivered through Qatar, pressure on Hamas's friends, on Hamas's allies. They have to understand that hosting Hamas, talking to Hamas, having a relationship with Hamas is as if you had a relationship with Al-Qaeda or ISIS. It's unacceptable, and people should be condemned for hosting the Hamas leadership as they are in Qatar. And so I think the combination of Israeli military pressure and the diplomatic pressure is getting people out, unfortunately, not as quickly as we would like, but we think as that pressure is increased, we'll see more people being set free.
Yeah, and just my point is, though, that there will be families, there will be loved ones looking on at this, seeing these releases and thinking, please, you know, we don't want a big ground invasion that could lead potentially to a loss of life among the hostages.
Of course, Mark, our hearts go out to the families, yes, and they are the victims of the most brutal, cynical, sadistic terrorist organization that is Hamas. But our understanding is Hamas is not releasing these people because suddenly they became humanitarians. Yes, I think your broadcast talked about this was a humanitarian gesture. These people aren't humanitarians. They're bloodthirsty killers. And if they are releasing people, it's because they're being compelled to do so by the pressure we're placing upon them. And as that pressure increases, I believe, you'll get more people out.
Now, this interview with Khaled Mashal tonight on Sky News, he is saying if you stopped bombing Gaza, they would release all the hostages, or the civilian hostages.
And we should believe him.
Well, I mean, you could answer the question, would you cease fire? Would you stop bombing in order to get the hostages out? There's a push towards the Security Council tomorrow diplomatically for a ceasefire. What do you make of that?
Of course, Hamas wants a ceasefire. We're hitting them hard. And this is a good tactic for them. They attack Israel. They massacre our people. They take others hostage illegally. They're guilty of beheadings, of rapes, of burning people alive, as Dominic said in the interview, of young concert goers just machine gunning them in a pit. Of course, and then Israel strikes back, and of course, ceasefire. We have to stop. No. They started this war.
But if there was a resolution, Mark, at the Security Council, would you ignore it?
I don't think we'll have such a resolution at the Security Council. We've had visits here by members of the UN Security Council, including permanent members. We've got the President of France here tomorrow. We've had the British Prime Minister. The American President was here. I don't believe there will be a Security Council vote that forces Israel to stop ourselves from protecting our people against Hamas terrorism.
Okay. I mean, the problem is that in the last few days, the airstrikes, by your own admission, have been ratcheted up, have become more intense, and many more civilians have died. One wonders, what is the point of that?
The point is to destroy Hamas. And I'd urge you to be cautious with the statistics coming out of Gaza. There's no independent way to verify that data. It's all coming out under the auspices of the Hamas-controlled Ministry of Health in Gaza. They have an interest. If we would believe their numbers, we're just killing innocent civilians. We haven't hit a single Hamas fighter. Now, that's clearly not plausible.
No, but you are killing civilians, and every time you kill civilians, you are radicalizing young Palestinians. So you may be neutralizing this threat, but you've got another threat coming in the future, just finally.
I beg to disagree with respect, Mark. I think when we are destroying and dismantling Hamas, we're showing Palestinians that the path of radicalism, the path of extremism, the path that produced the sort of grotesque and horrific violence that we saw on October 7th, that is a dead end. It's not just a dead end for the Middle East, but it's a dead end for Palestinians. And that is a path that leads Palestinians only to death and destruction. And by showing that that is a path that leads nowhere, we're hopefully going to see a more pragmatic and realistic Palestinian leadership emerge, and not one that the German Chancellor that uses Nazi-type tactics. His words, not mine.
Okay, Mark Regev, thanks very much for coming on the programme tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
You're watching a